Hello traders, Sapient, and in this video we are going to be talking about how central banks affect the economy. So let's get straight into the video. So what is a central bank? A central bank is a special bank controlled by the government, right? So we know that in our country we always have the superior bank that controls all other banks in the country, and they are known as the central bank of the country, and it is controlled by the government. So this central bank manage the country's money supply, they keep the economy stable, they control inflation, employment, and currency strength. So in this video, we are going to be looking at how they control those inflation, employment, and currency strength. So examples of central bank, we have Federal Reserve of the United States, we have Bank of England of the UK, we have Central Bank of Nigeria, we have European Central Bank of the EU, right? So we have these examples of central bank. So we know our own very well, which is the Central Bank of Nigeria. So what are the main two central bank use? So central banks, they don't just print money, they have powerful tools, right? Like the interest rates. So this interest rate is one peculiar and interesting tool the central bank use to affect the economy, in the sense that now when you go to borrow money from the bank, right, there's this interest they had on that money, that is the percentage at which you are going to return, right? So let's say you borrow 10 million naira. So when you return that 10 million naira, there is an added interest on that money, that when you return it, you had some extra amount of money. So it is called an interest. So central bank uses this interest rate to affect the economy, right? So if the economy is too slow, they cut interest rates to make loans cheaper. Means people borrow more money, then spending increases. So let me explain this very well. So now if the interest rate of a country is 4%, right? That is, anybody that borrows money from the country is going to uh, repay the money an extra 4%. Now, let's say let's say that 4% is high. Let's just say that 4% is high, right? People of the country will not be able to borrow money, right? Because the interest rate is high. They will be afraid of borrowing money. But let's say the central bank now decides to cut the interest rate to, let's say, 1%, right? So 1% being a low interest rate. People want to borrow money. Business in the country want to borrow money for their business because the interest rate is not high, meaning spending increases. So if the economy is too slow, they cut the interest. Now, if you cut the interest too low, it causes it causes inflation, right? So if prices are rising too fast, inflation, then they raise interest rates to what? To slow down spending, right? So if the economy is slow, they cut the interest rate. If there is inflation, they raise the interest rate. Now, the shady part of it is that if there is inflation in a country and they raise the interest rate, foreign investors will benefit from um, high interest rates, right? Know this: for if the interest rate of a country is high, foreign investors will benefit from it, in the sense that they would want to invest in the central bank. They want to invest in that country because they are getting high returns back. They are getting high returns. As of now that I know, the United States is using an interest rate of, I think, 4 to 7%, right? While Nigeria is using an interest rate of 27%. Now, 27% is a very, very high number, in the sense that people in the people in the country will not be able to borrow money. Businesses in the country will not be able to borrow money, because how will you tell me that if I borrow, let's say I borrow 100 million, I'm going to return 100 million plus 27% of that 100 million, when I can go to another country that their interest rate is 4% um, or 7%, right? But if somebody if somebody invests in the bank, right? If a foreign investor invests in that bank, right? If they invest in that bank, they need profit back. So whatever that bank loans away plus the interest they added on that money they loan away, it means the profit of the foreign investor will go high. So high interest rate attracts foreign investor, but it um, chases away the citizens of that country to borrow money. So if they lower the interest rate, citizens will be able to borrow money. But it will chase away foreign investor, which if both of them they are not balanced, it's bad for the country. So the central banks needs to now to balance each of them, right? So that the citizens will be able to borrow, take loans, while foreign investors too will not be able to like run away from the countries. So it needs to be balanced. So now impact of this interest rate on traders. So high interest rate equals stronger currency in the sense that if they increase the interest rates of the country, right, other foreign investors will use their currency, so which will make the currency strong. Low interest rate equals weaker currency because in the global market they will not use their currency. So forex trader loves exchange rate in the sense that there is something we call news trading in forex, right? So this news trading is when price can move drastically. It can move from like um, 1 to 1,000 in just little bit of amount of time because of what we call news trading. So there are different news in forex market. As we go on, you would know about this news, how you can trade them or avoid them, right? So we also know that in a crisis like COVID, central bank can create money to inject um, into the economy. They buy government bonds to help banks lend more money, right? This boosts the economy. So this we are still talking about the function of the central banks, and we see that when they do these things, they help boost the economy. And we can also see that if they overdo it, it will cause inflation, um, as I've explained earlier. So reserve requirement. This controls um, how much bank can hold in reserve. The first one was interest rate. The second one now is reserve requirement. So the reserve requirement controls how much bank can hold in reserve versus uh, how much they can lend at. And the second one is loser rules equals more money in circulation. So what are the real world effects of what the central bank does, right? So if central bank like increase or decrease the interest rate, what are the real world effects? So it can affect the value of the currency of that country, right? It controls loan interest rates. They control loan interest rates for cars, houses, student loan, and so on and so forth. Influences stock and forex market, right? Because whatever the central bank does will affect the currency, which in turn will affect the stock market, probably the companies that are in that country or the companies that are invested in that country and the forex market as a whole because their currency will be in the forex market. So it also impacts employment and inflation in the sense that if if um if they increase if they increase the interest rate, citizens will not be able to work, right? Because they will not be able to business will not be able to take loans, and if those business cannot be able to take loans, they will not be able to hire labor, right? So it also impacts um, employment and inflation. So example of it is in 2022 to 2023, US Fed, that is their central bank, they kept increasing interest rates to fight inflation, and dollar became very strong. Currency like naira and yen weakened. So if you were conversant with um, the naira USD last by 2022 2020, you would notice this, that there was this high surge in naira, right? In sorry, in dollar, whereby dollar was way higher than naira, right? So these were one of the cause of that. You can see forex traders saw big move in USD pairs like USD I trade USD so I noticed, right, and I noticed it on USD NGN, so that is US dollar Nigerian naira. So why do traders watch central banks? So if you trade forex or crypto and you ignore central banks, you are fighting a giant with live food on, because central banks have like big capital. We are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars to put into the forex market. We have billions of dollars to put into the forex market, right? So because they have the power to change the course of the market, they have the power to move the market significantly. So if you don't know what they are doing, if you don't know how they are doing it, you are fighting them blind, right? You lose your money. So traders always predict what central banks will do, and markets react to hint and tone especially. So what the central banks does affects the market a lot. It affects the market a lot. So you have to be careful. You have to know what they are doing. You have to know what they are doing. Plenty means of analysis like fundamental, sentimental, or technical analysis, right? So news events like FOMC, ECB, CPI, PPI, NFP, there are a lot of news, right? There are a lot of news, and when these news are happening, price tends to move fast, right? Price tends to move fast because these central banks are in play at that particular time. So these are some of the reasons why traders watch central bank. So we know that central banks are the economic control tower of every country, right? They control the economy of the country. If the economy is not doing well, central banks have um, the authority to interfere, right, and to like fix the economy of that country. They use tools like interest rates, money supply, and policies to steer inflation and growth. So central bank can switch um, the interest rate to either improve the economy, to increase inflation, or to increase money spending. That is, they want their citizens to be able to benefit from the interest rates. They want them to like borrow loans so that they can be labor, the unemployment rate can reduce, right? And if they see that they are doing it too much, they increase it back so that foreign investors can come in, right? So their decision will affect you, your money, and the market. So you cannot run away from central banks. You cannot run away from their influence in the market. So you have to be careful. You have to calm down, and you have to watch what they do and react from what they do. So now that you know what moves the market behind the scene, please like, share, and comment. If you ever lost a trade because of news, let me know in the comment section. Let's say you are already trading, so let me know in the comment section if you have ever lost a trade because of news. And please subscribe to the channel if you are new to the channel. So in the next video, we'll dive into currency pair and how to read them like a pro. Please subscribe again. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.